Hello, today I am going to discuss with you one of the most important topic of chapter the federalism. The topic is the decentralization of power in India. The decentralization of power is a real challenge before our political leader after independence. The political leader of India started taking interest and initiative for decentralization of power right since 1951. After the general election of 1951, under the leadership of veteran political parliamentarian, a committee was set up to discuss how, how decentralization of power is introduced in our country. In our constitution also, there is provision of decentralization of power. The provision of decentralization of power is well defined and explained in part 4 of the constitution, that is directive principle chapter. Article 40 of directive principle chapter deals with the provisions of decentralization in India. As we know that any article, any direction given by central government under provision of directive principle chapter is non-justifiable. And that is the reason why most of the state did not follow the suggestion of state government regarding decentralization of power. So, in our discussion, we try to understand first the meaning of decentralization in India. Second, we try to understand what are the basic ideas behind its introduction. Then we try to understand what measures were taken by Parliament to introduce or to make decentralization of power more efficient and more effective. Let us start with what is decentralization. When power is taken away from central and state government and given to the local self-government, it is called decentralization. Once again, I am explaining. When power is taken away from central and state governments and given to the local self-government, it is called decentralization. We know that there is difference between two terms, local government and local self-government. We are talking here about local self-government. Means government elected by local people for their own governance. Now, let us understand what are the basic ideals behind the introduction of decentralization in India. The first and the most important basic idea behind decentralization is that there are a large number of problems and issues which are best settled at local level. We know that it is very difficult to look into problems and issues of local area by our parliamentarian, by our state legislative members, sometimes by our district administration also. So this responsibility is given to local self-government, Mukhia, ward councillor, for example, understand local problem and local issue in better way and try to provide solution for that. So this is first idea behind its introduction. Second idea, local people have better knowledge and understanding of problem in their locality. We know that one can understand one's problem in best way. So again, local people, citizen of a village or a mohalla in urban area know and understand their problem in best way. So they are also having best solution for their problem, because once we understand the problem, certainly we are in position to provide best solution for that problem. Third, local people have better ideas on where to spend money and how to manage things more efficiently. For example, drainage system is one important needs of villager. So how to put a watch on the construction of sewerage, how to put check on the contractor, force contractor to construct sewerage in best possible way. So they were guiding Gram Panchayat to invest money in what area. Plus, they also put a check on the contractors, the elected members of Gram Panchayat, and force them to manage money and things in best possible way. Next, it provides local people an opportunity to directly participate in decision making and planning their own development. Gram Sabha. All eligible voters of the village are the members of Gram Sabha, and they participate directly in planning. Plus, they participate in electing the representative of Gram Panchayat, and they also keep direct relation, close contact with all elected members. So this certainly provide them an opportunity to directly participate in democratic process. And in this way, they learn various traits and important features of democracy. Next, we can say it also helps in promoting and inculcating a habit of democratic participation. How to participate in democracy, how to pressurize their elected leader. People learn in local self-government. Now, let us discuss the measure taken by government or parliament to provide strength to decentralization in India. I have already discussed that mention of provision of decentralization of power in our constitution is in part 4, the chapter directive principle under article 40. But there is limitation of this article, and that's why decentralization of power is not effective and efficient. The real initiative to provide effectiveness was already started in 1989 when 67th amendment was adopted by parliament. But this amendment failed to bring any desired change. The real change in this sector, in this area, was noticed when 73rd and 74th Amendment Bill was passed by Parliament in 1992. 73rd Amendment Act deals with the Panchayati Raj system, and 74th Amendment Act deals with the Nagar Palika system, Nagar Palika Act. And after passing of these two acts, the real existence, real establishment of local self-government came in our country. Now let us see briefly content of 73rd Amendment Act. This act is also known as the Panchayati Raj Act 1992. First change or first important provision of this act added a new part in our constitution, part 9, consisting of 16 articles, and also added a new schedule, Schedule 11, to the constitution. If we try to find out the source of 73rd and 74th Amendment Act, we find these acts are based on the recommendation of two important committees. First, Balwant Rai Mehta Committee, which submitted its report in 1957. And second, L.M. Singhvi Committee, which submitted its report in 1986. These are the main source for both 73rd and 74th Amendment Act. Another important provision of 73rd Amendment is that it added a new article 243, and this article goes up to 243O. And last important provision in Schedule 11, 29 subjects are described, covering different areas related to Panchayati Raj system, Panchayati Raj rule. Next, we discuss 74th Amendment Act, known as Nagar Palika Act 1992, Urban Local Bodies Act. This act also added a new part in the Constitution, Part 9A, which deals with municipalities, and it consists 18 articles. This another important provision of 74th Amendment Act is that it added a new schedule in the Constitution, that is Schedule 12. And third, it added another article 243P to 243ZG, describing various provisions related to better governance of urban areas. So there is no doubt, only after passing of 73rd and 74th Amendment Act 1992, the third tier of government gained strength, effectiveness, and result is before us. So this is the new structure of third tier system in Panchayati Raj. At the apex, there is Jila Parishad, district level. At intermediary level, Panchayat Samiti exists at block level. And at the bottom or first executive tier is Gram Panchayat, which exists at village level. Now let us discuss what changes were brought after 73rd and 74th Amendment Act passed in 1990. Now see, the most important challenge faced by or most important challenge in implementation of decentralization of power in different state was first, state legislative body were not willing to left their power, were not willing to part their power with any other institution. That's why most of the state did not hold election for Panchayati Raj system. And another important reason, or we can say this is the hidden but most important reason, state government do not want to part their revenue with any other institution. Because local self-government, once established, once created, it gets certain power. It also gets revenue. And revenue is allotted by state budget provision. So state government were unwilling to share their power and revenue with any other body. And that's why they neglect, they create obstacle, hurdle in implementation of Panchayati Raj system. But after these two amendments, these are the changes. First, now it is constitutionally mandatory to hold regular elections to local government bodies. No state can deny. So helplessness in conducting election for local government bodies. It is now mandatory, compulsory. Second, seats are reserved in elected bodies and executive heads of these institutions for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and other backward classes, according to the provision described in the Constitution and Reservation Act. 22.5% for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, 27% for other backward class or community. Third important change, and we can say most revolutionary change, at least 1/3 of all positions are reserved for women. In some state, up to 50% of all positions are reserved for women. And Bihar is the first state to increase percentage of seat reserved for women from 1/3 to 50%. Next, an independent state election commission State Election Commission has been created in each state and given responsibility to conduct free and fair elections for panchayat and municipal corporations. Most revolutionary, another important states. State Election Commission has been created and given responsibility to conduct not only election for panchayat and municipal bodies, but also in free and fair manner. And last but not the least, the state government are required to share some powers and revenue with local government bodies. The nature of sharing varies from state to state. This is the most controversial point I have already mentioned. And sharing of revenue must be reflected in state budget. That means local government bodies get their part through state budget, and that money they use for the development of local areas. And there is another source of income for local government bodies also. They used to raise taxes from their property and from some other local resource. And in this way, local government bodies now not only get power of governance, but also get revenue. And that revenue they utilize for serving local people in better way. And one more point I like to add here. With revival of local self-government bodies, every citizen of India got an opportunity to directly complain, directly address their grievances to their elected representative. Because one can easily approach Mukhia, Sarpanch, Chairman of Jila Parishad, Mayor of Municipal Corporation, Ward Councillor, but it is not easy to approach member of Legislative Assembly and member of Lok Sabha and member of Raj Sabha. So this may be another thought in the mind of our constitution framer, our leader, when they introduced the chapter of decentralization of power. If we analyze history, decentralization is not new for India. We practice decentralization since time immemorial. There were several references of decentralization of power in history. And what is need? Need is to implement it in effective way. And that is possible only after 73rd and 74th Amendment Act. But still, we have to travel a large distance because these bodies are yet to perform, yet to give its best result. Anyhow, we hope for the best. Now let us see the new change after this act. Panchayati Raj system covers the village, the block, that is Tehsil or Taluk in some other state, and the district. Gram Sabha is a body which invite all the eligible voters to sit together, to discuss and to plan. But first real executive tier is Gram Panchayat. And member of Gram Panchayat is elected by the eligible voters of Gram Sabha. Gram Panchayat exists in one village or for more than one village. It depends upon the population and geographical extent of the village. Second important body is Panchayat Samiti or Block Samiti. This exists at block level. Ex officio member of Panchayat Samiti is president of Gram Panchayat. They elect president of Panchayat Samiti. And the apex body is Jila Parishad, which is in district headquarters. In Jila Parishad, there are ex officio members. All president of Panchayat Samiti are ex officio member of Jila Parishad. And these Panchayat Samiti member, president of Panchayat Samiti elects chairman and deputy chairman of Jila Parishad. Plus all MPs of that constituencies, all MLAs of that constituency are ex officio member of Jila Parishad. Plus, there are several other ex officio members of Jila Parishad, like representative of women, representative of agricultural society, etc. And their responsibility is how to uplift, how to tackle the problems of block, village, or rural people in effective way. Plus, they discuss budget, they plan development of various areas, local areas under their control. Next body is urban local government bodies, the Nagar Palika system. It is concentrated in towns and cities. In towns, the body is named as municipalities. But in bigger city, the body is known as municipal corporation. For example, Gaya in Bihar, Patna in Bihar is having municipal corporations. Delhi, Bombay are having municipal corporations. And in municipalities and municipal corporation, various eligible voters elect one councillor, ward councillor from their localities. That means municipalities and municipal corporations are divided into several wards. And from each ward, one councillor is elected by the eligible voters. And it is eligible voters who elect them, and after that They serve the demands, the needs, and grievances of the local people. The highest position in municipal corporation is of mayor, followed by deputy mayor. Mayor is the most respectable position of local self-government. So this is in brief about the local self-government. And I hope that these information certainly help you in understanding decentralization of power in India. Thank you. Thank you very much.